o'clock. It is officially game week, and I could not be more excited. So to celebrate, I'm going to give you my 5 bold predictions for the Baltimore Ravens in the 2024 NFL season. So stay tuned. I got some juicy ones. I got some good ones. But I think there's a chance all 5 of these could hit. Curious to see if you'll agree. But before we get into that, rumors are out there. Reports are saying today might be my birthday. I'm not going to confirm nor deny it. And if you're wondering what you could give me, if you're saying, man, Joey, I just want to, celebrate you, hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. I would love it. You can do nothing else more for me than hit that subscribe button. So go on. Hit it for me. Hey, if you can guess how old I am, put it in the comment section. Everybody give a guess. Whoever guesses it right first gets a shout out in Thursday's live show. So get down in the comment section. My first bold prediction, Kyle Hamilton, Defensive Player of the Year. I know, it's year 3 for him, and Defensive Player of the Year now, you know how like MVP is kind of just a quarterback award? It seems to me like Defensive Player of the Year has kind of just turned into an edge rusher award, but I think Kyle Hamilton changes the game. And that's because he's so versatile on defense. He doesn't just play one position. Hell, he doesn't even just play 2 positions. Look at where he lines up pre-snap. This was last year. 22.2% of the time he's in the box, 29.9% of the time he's at that free safety spot, and 42.3% of the time he's lined up somewhere in the slot. He's so useful. He's so versatile. You can do more with him than you can any other defensive player in football. You can't name a more dynamic defensive player in football. I dare you to try. There's maybe one more dynamic player in all of football, and that might be Lamar Jackson. But when you're just talking defense, nobody can do it quite like Kyle Hamilton. He can cover man. He can cover in zone. He can tackle well. He's such a, there's just not that many players like him anymore in football. He's a jack of all trades. Thank you, producer Reed. He's just like, you don't find that many guys who can do the things that he can do as good as he does them. And I think if he comes out there and performs as well as I think he will, and gives a slight uptick from last season, he could lock that down, that Defensive Player of the Year spot. So what % chance do you give Kyle Hamilton of winning Defensive Player of the Year? Are you thinking it's like 50-50, maybe a little higher, 75? You let me know in the comment section down below. My second bold prediction for the season, Ravens get a wide receiver at the trade deadline. Guys, I've talked about this a lot, not this specific move, but I've talked about this wide receiver room a lot since I've come on Ravens Rundown, either as a producer in the beginning or now as the host. And it's fine. I like it. Don't love it. When you pair it up with the tight ends, it gets a lot better, and you just look at them as pass catchers. But if you're just looking as pure wide receivers, it's not a top 10, top 15 unit in the NFL, I don't think. And I think that halfway through the season, this team realizes that they might just need something else to push them over that hump. I think they might make a splash move at the deadline to get a wide receiver, right? I think you got the running back. You got the quarterback. You might say, Joey, they need offensive line. Guys, nobody's dealing offensive linemen, okay? That's just, I hate to just reiterate this, but those are just such coveted positions that if you have a good one, typically you hold on to them. But I think you make a big splash trade for wide receiver because you look at the Ravens, right, with Lamar Jackson and with Derrick Henry and with that defense the way it is, you kind of say, okay, the time is now. The time is always, right? Every single season, but especially this one, you're not going to have a better shot of getting that Super Bowl. So let's go get a wide receiver to push us over that hump. I think they make it happen. I would love to see them make it happen. Now, I do think Rashad Bateman will do fine. I do think Nelson Aguilar, they'll have good seasons. I'm really high on Zay Flowers. We'll get into that more and later in this episode. But I do think that they do something to just kind of make a splash and to possibly just take him to another level. But before we get on to my next points, because you've heard 2 of them already, I got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, and that, of course, is Factor. Eating better is easy with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to go in just 2 minutes. You'll have over 35 different options to choose from every single week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Also, there are more than 60 add-ons to help you stay fueled up and feeling good all day long. What are you waiting for? Get started today and get after your goals. And guys, I got to talk real quick about that roasted red pepper filet mignon that Factor has. It is absolutely delicious. I always thought my dad could cook a good steak. Truthfully, I always thought my dad had the best steaks in the world until I tried that Factor roasted red pepper filet mignon. I mean, tender, juicy, delicious, perfect in a word. Head over to factormeals.com/RavensChat50 and use code RavensChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code RavensChat50 at factormeals.com/RavensChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription, of course, is still active. So you saw my 2 bold predictions so far. Kyle Hamilton, Defensive Player of the Year. Ravens get a wide receiver at the deadline. Let's move on to number 3, and that, of course, Derrick Henry breaks his own touchdown record. And it's a doozy, guys. It's not just like 10 or 12. No. In 2020, Derrick Henry had 17 touchdowns that season. He also paired that with 2,027 yards. 5.4 yards a carry. He ran the ball 378 times. I'm not saying he's breaking the yards. I'm not saying he's breaking the carries, but I do think there's a chance he breaks the touchdowns. And that's because of what the Ravens do in the red zone. You probably think, okay, with a quarterback as mobile as Lamar Jackson, he probably runs it 100 times a game when they're in the red zone, right? Because you got to. You got to give Lamar Jackson the ball when he's in the red zone. But guys, he doesn't run it as much in the red zone as you think he does. Warren Sharp talks about it in his preview magazine. He said the following: Jackson has 29 career rushing touchdowns. 21 of those have come from 5 yards out or further. One of his 5 rushing touchdowns from last season came from within 7 yards of the end zone. Gus Edwards handled 26 of the 53 goal-to-go carries for the Ravens last season, with Jackson getting 10 of those looks. Edwards got the ball in 22 of the Ravens' 34 carries inside the 5-yard line last season. Jackson had 5 carries in those situations. Guys, Jackson isn't keeping the ball much within the 10-yard line. And I think when you got a running back like Derrick Henry, an absolute bowling ball truck bulldozer that is Derrick Henry, he's going to be getting the lion's share of the carries within the 5 and the 10-yard line. And that's what makes Lamar Jackson so great, right? Is the statistic is probably the way it is because defenses have to play the fact that, okay, Lamar Jackson might keep this ball, right? That's what makes the Ravens running back so good within the 5 and within the 10. But guys, Derrick Henry's never been on a team with this many weapons. I know 17 touchdowns is a lot. I guess we're asking for 18 this year. But he's never been on a team with this many weapons, right? He wasn't on a team with A.J. Brown, and that was a really good Titans team, right? Number 1 seed in the AFC West. We don't want to talk about what happened in the playoffs. But he's never had a quarterback like he has now. He had Ryan Tannehill before. He's never had a tight end like he has now with Mark Andrews, and maybe 2 with Isaiah Likely. There's just so much to worry about with this Ravens defense, or offense, especially when they're in the red zone. And I think just anytime you're in a 5, King Henry's getting that ball, and he's absolutely bulldozing his way into the end zone. So I'm going to set the line at 16.5 for Derrick Henry. That's the line. You think he goes over or under? I know it's high. But hey, these are bold predictions. These aren't soft predictions. I'm typing that out. You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 4, we got 2 more of these left. Nate Wiggins wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. Man, how awesome of a secondary the Ravens would have if number 1 and number 4 come true, am I right? But when you look at Nate Wiggins' preseason PFF grades, he had a 91.1% coverage grade, or excuse me, a 91.1 coverage grade. He allowed 8 yards. And he had 39.6% passing rating. That lock emoji is because he locked dudes up. Guys, and we had this graphic built like after his first game of the preseason. We had to change it because things got better the more snaps that he played. Things got better, right? You usually, the more times, like a player's playing, the more snaps he gets, usually the more those averages kind of come, like the passer rating go up a little bit, coverage grade go down. No, coverage grade went up, passer rating went down, yards stayed the exact same. Only let up 2 receptions. And I know you might be saying, Joey, you're overreacting. It's preseason. Blah, 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 blah. No, this isn't an overreaction. I think he's going to dominate. I really do. And I think if he does, and if he plays as well in the regular season as he had in the preseason, there's a good chance he could steal away that Rookie of the Year spot. I don't know. I think he could do it. My last one of today's episode, Zay Flowers breaks the single season receiving record. The current record, as it stands, goes to Mr. Mark Andrews, 2021, 1,361 yards. In second is Michael Jackson, 14 yards after dropping Thriller, decided to catch some touchdown and yards for the Baltimore Ravens. 1,201 yards, and Torrey Smith, of course, in 2013 with 1,128 yards. I think Zay Flowers can break this. And I think, honestly, this is like my least bold take on this list. I'd be willing to put some money down that he breaks this. 1,361 yards, that's a lot of yards. But Zay Flowers is not just the wide receiver 1 on this roster, but the wide receiver 2 is the tight end. It's Mark Andrews, right? When you look at this depth chart, again, I think Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar are going to have fine seasons, but there's just zero doubt in my mind that Zay Flowers is going to be that number 1 go-to guy for Lamar Jackson. You only saw his production uptick as the season went on last season. And as him and Lamar Jackson just get more reps, more games, more throws, more catches, more practices, more everything together, I think his production only goes up. So which of these 5, you've heard all 5 of them, which of these 5 do you think have the best chance of hitting? Okay, is it Kyle Hamilton, Defensive Player of the Year? You think the Ravens get wide receiver at the deadline? Does Derrick Henry break his touchdown record? Nate Wiggins, Defensive Rookie of the Year? Or Flowers breaks his single-season receiving record? If I had to bet, I'd probably say the Flowers one or the wide receiver at the deadline. Those would be my choices. But you guys let me know down in that comment section. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. So excited that it's game week. Again, if you want to get your boy a birthday present, go hit that subscribe button down below. Y'all have a fantastic Sunday.